deceive. The teddy bears are here to play. If you don't come play with.
Welcome to Frightened Female. This is Crystal. I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's. And you guys, I learn new things all the time when you send me suggestions on videos to make about topics that I've never heard of until researching myself. One suggestion from a viewer was for me to discuss the haunting subject of the Skinwalkers. Now, I had no idea what a Skinwalker was. And as I further looked into it, I found out how close in relation this Navajo Skinwalker legend was to the story that I previously did on the water babies. For those of you that have never heard of the Skinwalkers, I will explain. And it's scary, whether you choose to believe in it or not. There are many true stories online of people who've come into contact with the Skinwalker, and it wasn't pleasant. The Navajo Skinwalker legend is one of the more complex and terrifying stories, steeped in mystery and evil intent. Many Navajos believe firmly in the existence of Skinwalkers and refuse to discuss them publicly for fear of retribution. They believe Skinwalkers walk freely among the tribe and secretly transform under the cover of night. The term Ya Naldashi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm probably not, translates to, with it, he goes on all fours. According to Navajo legend, a Skinwalker is a medicine man or a witch who has attained the highest level of priesthood in the tribe, but chose to use his or her power for evil by taking the form of an animal to inflict pain and suffering on others. To become a Skinwalker requires the most evil of deeds, the killing of a close family member. They literally become humans who have acquired immense supernatural power, including the ability to transform into animals and other people. According to the Navajo Skinwalker legend, these evil witches are typically seen in the form of a coyote, an owl, a fox, a wolf, or a crow, although they do have the ability to turn into any animal that they choose. Because it is believed that Skinwalkers wear the skins of the animals that they transform into, it is considered taboo to wear the pelt of any animal. In fact, the Navajo are only known to wear two types of hides, that's sheepskin and buckskin, both of which are only used for ceremonial purposes. Those who have talked of their encounters with these evil beings describe a number of ways in which a Skinwalker will try to inflict harm. Some describe hearing knocks on the window or banging on the walls. Others have spotted an animal-like figure peering in through the window. According to Navajo Skinwalker legend, they are rarely caught. Those who do track a Skinwalker and learn of their true identity must pronounce the name of the evil one in full. Once this happens, the Skinwalker will get sick or die from the wrongs that they have inflicted against others. So for those of you that haven't seen my video on the water babies, here's a tiny portion from it of what I now think is a Skinwalker entity, having done the research. This is the native legend of the evil horse lady. Now, on this reservation, there aren't many paved roads. There's a lot of dirt roads, and it's a very old place with a lot of history, and it's in the desert. And these are actual pictures of the place, as you see. There's a lot of dirt roads. Anyways, she said that there was one road. And God, I wish I remembered its name. This was so long ago, 15, 16 years ago, she told me this. She said, there's this one road to never go down past the stroke of midnight. And it was an unlit dirt road that was supposedly inhabited by an evil spirit. And I was like, oh my God, what spirit? Who is the spirit? She said it belongs to the horse lady. The horse lady? I said, what's the horse lady? She said, if you are on this one particular road and you pass over the cattle tracks after the stroke of midnight, you will meet up with her. Or let me take that back. She will meet up with you. How? I asked her. She said, if you pass over these cattle tracks past midnight and you're driving along in the dark, you will look up into your rear view mirror and you'll see her in the distance, galloping towards you, faster and faster and getting much closer. With each panicking glass, she is half woman, half horse, in all black. Black horse, scraggly black hair, and piercing fire red eyes. You can feel her eyes sting through your soul. And no matter how fast you drive, she will catch up to you and keep up with your speed on your passenger side. She gallops right along your passenger window, staring you right in the face. She doesn't even look forward to see where she's going. She's staring right into the window at you the entire time. She will begin to ram you off the road in an attempt to make you crash. You struggle to recover, she'll ram into your car again until you finally crash and die. And I guess there were people who have been found crashed along that road on a few occasions. At least that's what my friend told me. I guess the people that survived were able to tell of their experience. So I'm almost certain that this legend was based off of the Skinwalkers. That's pretty frightening stuff. And even though I had many Native friends, they never mentioned the term Skinwalker to me. And now I know why. That being said, today's true scary story was submitted to me by Seth. Thank you so much, Seth, for your submission. We often know little to nothing about a new place when we first move in. It's the strange discoveries and occurrences that happen along the way that make us think twice about where we're living and what strange things went on there before you even arrived. With that, let's begin. To start, this story was told to me by my father around 4 or 5 years ago. So back in the mid-'80s, my father started renting a condo in Southern California. Every time friends and family came over, they would tell him that they felt uncomfortable and uneasy when they would visit. On one particular day, his sister came over to give him a haircut. She was a stylist. They decided it would be easier to cut it in the backyard, as the cleanup would be quick. About halfway through cutting his hair, his sister instantly felt so uneasy that she had to leave the yard and later the house. So a few days after that, his brother came over and they were goofing off in the backyard. And for some reason, they felt this compulsion to dig a hole. After digging down a couple feet, they found thick roots from the tree and saw something underneath them. After pulling back the roots, they recovered a porcelain devil mask. My father described the mask to me as looking handmade, being made to look like the classic red devil with horns, like you'd see in old cartoons. On the back, it had an inscription that read something like, Merry Christmas, and then someone's name, and then the year 1970. Very strange. So later, they hung it up on a nail in his garage above the washer and dryer. And one particular night, they were goofing off and listening to music and partying in the garage. They spray painted around it like a circle, and they didn't really think much of it. That morning, my father woke up and was doing laundry and noticed that the spray painted outline was still there, but the mask was gone. He checked behind the washer and dryer, expecting to find it crashed into pieces, but it was nowhere to be found. That same exact night, he woke up and looked out the front window as he heard the sound of cats meowing and fighting. He looked into his yard and saw what he described as every cat from his neighborhood, at least 20 or so, rolling around and acting strange near the hole that he had dug. He quickly went outside and scared them all off. He went back in and locked the door, puzzled as to what he just saw. The next day, he went to investigate the hole in broad daylight, and he dug a little deeper. He found what he described as ritualistic type materials. He found bundles of hair tied up with twine and pieces of bone. Whether they were from a human or an animal, who knows? Every night after that, he said when he was almost into a full sleep, he would feel as if there was a presence in the room and a pressure on his chest, as if someone, something was pressing down hard, trying to suffocate him, and he was powerless to do anything, and he couldn't move at all when this happened. He found that if he had raised his voice from a helpless whimper to straight yelling, it would stop, and he'd be able to move again. My half-brother was a small baby at this time, and he started to become afraid that the entity would soon harm him. After a few nights of this same activity occurring, he eventually got angry enough that he yelled to the top of his lungs at whatever the presence was to get out, and that it needed to leave him and my brother alone. Whatever it was never came back, but my father has refused to retell me this story later on. His reasoning being that he is afraid that the action of him talking about it would bring whatever demon this was back to life and haunt him or one of his children. That is beyond scary, and Lord knows what went on at that place with the previous tenants. It sounds very ritualistic, very dark, all the features you don't want in a home. But thanks again for your submission, Seth. And I did look up some of the top signs that your place is haunted by a demonic entity, and one of the things that came up was multiple animals showing up for no reason on your premises. And so then when I read your story about the cats, it kind of confirmed that, yes, something dark was definitely haunting that condo. I also remember a few years back, I watched a testimony on television of a woman that said she moved into a place where every single day dead animals would be lying in her yard of all different species, and that's when she knew something wasn't right. I believe she did a cleansing of her home, and then the animals basically went away. So yeah, pretty freaky stuff. But if you have a true scary story of your own that you'd like to submit, please see the description box below. I'd love to share it. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you're new. Most importantly, folks, please be safe. Be aware of your surroundings. And remember to always lock your door. Scare you later.